They say betrayal hits a man like a silent avalanche. There is no warning, no tremor, no crack in the ground to tell you the world beneath your feet is about to give way. It happens in a single moment, a message you weren't meant to see, a shift in her behavior you pretended wasn't real, a truth from her lips that sounds rehearsed, distant, almost professional. But what destroys a man isn't the act itself. It's the realization that she wasn't the same woman you thought you were loving. She was already gone long before her body ever followed. And that's the part nobody prepares men for. The slow death of a relationship that still looks alive on the surface. Most men have no idea that women detach emotionally long before they detach physically. They don't slam a door, they gradually let it drift open. A woman will sit next to you, laugh with you, sleep beside you, even make plans with you, while quietly untangling herself from the inside. She doesn't need to announce the distance. She just starts living in her head more than in the relationship. By the time you feel the coldness, she's been freezing for months. Men often imagine cheating as a heat-of-the-moment decision, something reckless and impulsive, like she tripped and fell into someone else's arms, but it's rarely like that. For women, cheating is more of an emotional migration. It starts with a small shift, a conversation with someone new that makes her feel seen again, or a moment where she feels excited just to be understood by someone who isn't you. She doesn't register it as betrayal at first. She registers it as curiosity, connection, or harmless attention. That's how it always begins, not with desire, but with contrast. Women cheat when they start comparing what they feel with someone new to what they no longer feel with you. It's the emotional difference that pulls her, not the man himself. And the saddest part is that she won't tell you she's unhappy. She won't say, "I need more from you," because she doesn't want to risk a conversation that might confirm she's the one who changed. Instead, she lets the new emotional experience grow in silence until the silence becomes a second home. Most men don't realize this because men tend to be loyal to who a woman was, while women are loyal to who they feel they're becoming. That difference is where the fracture begins. A man often thinks the relationship is stable because nothing seems openly wrong. But a woman's emotional world is full of micro-signals, the kind you can easily miss when you trust her more than you trust your instincts. She might start dressing slightly differently, not for you, but for how she wants to feel. She might suddenly have a lot on her mind, but none of it involves you. She might get irritated by things she once found endearing. She might become oddly protective of her phone, not because of what's on it yet, but because of what might appear on it soon. It's not dramatic, it's gradual. And that's why it's so dangerous. The dark truth most men learn too late is that a woman cheats emotionally, long before she cheats physically. She cheats through conversations that feel innocent, through attention she secretly enjoys, through the thrill of being desired without the weight of responsibility. And the moment she realizes another man makes her feel something, anything she's been missing, she begins emotionally rewriting the story of your relationship. She'll convince herself you've changed, even if you haven't. She'll tell herself she tried to communicate, even if she hadn't. She'll start seeing the relationship through a filter where everything wrong now feels like your fault. She doesn't do this to hurt you. She does it to justify the emotional escape she's already halfway through. And the heartbreaking part is this. By the time she crosses a physical line with someone else, she doesn't see it as betraying you. She sees it as finally aligning with how she's felt for months. That's why when men confront a cheating woman, she often looks numb instead of guilty. She's not shocked by the betrayal. She's shocked that you're only now noticing she left. What stings the most for men isn't just the betrayal, it's the realization that she was living two emotional lives long before she crossed the physical line. And when you look back, you start connecting dots you never connected before. The nights she seemed distracted, the conversations that felt half present, the sudden bursts of irritation that came from nowhere, the way she started choosing solitude over togetherness. You replay those moments and realize she wasn't withdrawing because of stress, work, or mood. She was withdrawing because her heart was quietly relocating. And the truth is, women don't move their hearts all at once. They move them in pieces. A woman might stop sharing her dreams with you first, then her frustrations, then her daily thoughts. She slowly goes from telling you everything to telling you only what she feels obligated to share. And one day you wake up and realize she no longer tells you anything at all. But she's telling someone, because women don't hold emotional silence. When she stops talking to you, she starts talking to someone else, even if she hasn't named it yet. This is the part men underestimate. Women do not cheat for sex. They cheat for connection, identity, and emotional renewal. They cheat because they feel a version of themselves coming alive again around someone new. A version they miss, a version they feel they lost somewhere inside the relationship. That feeling becomes intoxicating, not because the other man is extraordinary, but because the emotional contrast is, you could be a good man, stable, supportive, faithful, hardworking, and still lose her admiration. That's the part that breaks men. They assume loyalty is a reward for goodness, but admiration doesn't work that way. Admiration comes from feeling inspired, desired, challenged, or emotionally awakened. If she stops feeling those things with you, it doesn't matter how good you are. Her heart quietly begins to drift toward the source that provides them. And the drift can be so subtle that it's impossible to see without hindsight. It starts with her laughing a little too hard at another man's jokes, or being curious about his life in a way she doesn't show with you anymore, or checking her phone with a certain anticipation she doesn't have around you. These are not signs of physical cheating. These are signs her heart is becoming emotionally bilingual. Here's something men rarely understand. Before a woman cheats on you, she cheats for herself. She cheats to feel alive again. She cheats to feel noticed, to feel desired, to feel like her emotions matter. Cheating, for her, is less about the man she betrays with, and more about the woman she becomes in the process. And though it hurts to hear, women don't drift toward men. They're missing something from. They drift toward men who activate emotional responses they haven't felt in a while. The new man represents an escape, not an upgrade. He is simply the emotional doorway she walks through to exit a version of her life she no longer feels connected to. And that's why, when you confront her, she often speaks in past tense. I haven't been happy for a long time. I've been feeling disconnected. I didn't know how to tell you. These aren't excuses, they're timestamps. She is telling you how long ago she emotionally left, hoping you'll understand that the cheating wasn't the beginning, it was the conclusion. The devastating truth men learn too late is this: a woman rarely cheats because she's trying to leave the relationship. She cheats because she already left, emotionally. And the physical act is just the final step her body takes after her heart has already moved on. What truly shatters a man isn't just the betrayal, it's discovering how effortlessly she was able to live her double life while still standing right in front of him. And the cruel irony is that most men don't notice the emotional death of a relationship because they're still living in the version of the relationship that used to exist. Men, remember how good things were. Women react to how things feel now. That emotional timing difference is what blindsides men every time. While you were building a future, she was quietly reviewing the past. While you were planning life with her, she was questioning her place in it. While you were fighting for the relationship, she was fighting with herself about whether it still represented who she wanted to be. Women rarely speak openly when they're unhappy, not because they're deceitful, but because they want to avoid being the villain in the story. If she tells you she feels neglected, you might change. If she tells you she feels disconnected, you might try harder. And if she tells you she's losing admiration, you might step up. But she's already decided emotionally, so she doesn't want to open doors that might make her stay against her inner truth. Silence becomes her exit strategy. And during that silence, something dangerous happens. Her emotional world becomes more active outside the relationship than inside it. She starts thinking about how someone else makes her feel. She starts imagining what it would be like to explore that connection. She starts comparing how she reacts to him versus how she reacts to you. She starts interpreting her emotions through a lens that favors the new attention over the old commitment. It is terrifying how fast this shift can happen once admiration fades. A woman can go from being deeply in love to emotionally neutral almost overnight, and when she's emotionally neutral, your presence doesn't warm her anymore, your absence doesn't trouble her, and your affection doesn't land the way it used to. You become familiar, and familiar eventually becomes invisible. A man often tries harder when he senses distance because men are taught to solve emotional problems with effort. But this is where many men accidentally dig the grave deeper. When a woman is emotionally drifting, increased attention from the man feels like pressure rather than connection. She interprets your affection not as love, but as a reminder of responsibilities she no longer wants to carry. The harder you try to pull her back, the more she emotionally retreats because she feels like you're trying to save a version of her she doesn't want to be anymore. Meanwhile, the other man doesn't have to do much at all. He doesn't carry the history. He doesn't carry her expectations. He doesn't carry the emotional patterns the relationship built. He gets her curiosity, her imagination, her hopes, her untold frustrations, the parts of her she's been suppressing. That alone creates a powerful emotional illusion, the illusion that she is becoming herself again around him. And once a woman associates a man with her emotional revival, she subconsciously starts drifting toward him, even if he isn't actually better than you in any real sense. It's not about the man, it's about the feeling. And this is where men get blindsided. A woman may cheat with a man who isn't smarter than you, better looking, more successful, or more stable. In fact, sometimes she cheats with someone clearly beneath you. That's the part that feels humiliating. But she wasn't choosing him. She was choosing how she felt in his presence. She was choosing the version of herself she believed she resurrected when he entered her world. The betrayal becomes a mirror, not of your worth, but of her internal conflict, not of your failure, but of her emotional migration, not of your weakness, but of her unfinished identity. Men learn too late that cheating isn't about replacement, it's about escape. She didn't cheat because she found someone better. She cheated because she didn't know how to face who she had become with you. And that realization changes a man forever. What breaks a man after the betrayal isn't just the pain, it's the clarity. It's the way everything suddenly makes sense in reverse. You start remembering the tone shifts, the unexplained distance, the nights she seemed mentally elsewhere even while sitting right beside you. And with painful honesty, you realize she wasn't drifting randomly. She was transitioning. She was slowly relocating her emotional identity, and you were watching the surface while the foundation was quietly being removed brick by brick. A woman can stay physically present long after she has emotionally left, and that dual existence is what confuses men the most. She can laugh with you, plan with you, touch you, and still be gone inside. Women are capable of performing stability while simultaneously building an emotional life elsewhere. Not because they're cruel, but because the mind adapts to whatever protects it from discomfort. And in her mind, confronting the truth with you was more painful than hiding it from you. A man always thinks he could have changed her mind if she had just been honest earlier. And maybe that's the part that creates the deepest wound, the what-ifs. What if she told you she felt unseen? What if she told you something was missing? What if she told you she didn't admire you the way she used to? What if she explained the emotional distance before it became betrayal? But the truth is, she rarely speaks up because she knows that honesty might pull her back toward you, and she doesn't want to be pulled back once she has felt something new. She wants to slide away without the emotional responsibility of explaining that she changed before you did. And that's why men never see it coming. The relationship dies quietly while the woman pretends nothing's wrong. When a woman cheats, she doesn't see it as losing a good man in the moment. She sees it as rediscovering the version of herself she lost. That's the emotional high. The other man becomes a symbol, not of love, not of passion, not of commitment, but of escape. He becomes the emotional doorway she uses to step out of a life she feels disconnected from. And because he doesn't carry the weight of the relationship, everything he does feels lighter, easier, more exciting. She isn't falling in love with him. She's falling in love with the version of herself she believes she becomes around him. That's why it's so hard to reason with a woman who's cheating or about to cheat. You're trying to talk to her logically while she's living in a feeling. Logic can't touch feelings that have already taken root. Even if she knows deep down the other man isn't a long-term solution, she can't let go of the emotional spark because it offers her something she hasn't felt in a long time: aliveness. This is where men misunderstand the situation completely. They think the other guy must be better, stronger, more attractive, but often he is none of those things. What he has, however, is contrast. He gives her a different emotional frequency, not necessarily a better one, just different. And the human mind is wired to chase novelty when routine begins to feel like suffocation. Meanwhile, the man she's betraying is doing everything he knows, showing love, showing consistency, showing loyalty. But those are not the qualities that reach a woman who has emotionally checked out. Once she crosses into that psychological territory, commitment feels like obligation, affection feels like pressure, and your love becomes a mirror reflecting the parts of herself she's trying to escape. And that's why, when you confront her, her reaction feels so unnatural. She looks distant, calm, almost detached, not because she doesn't care about hurting you, but because she has already processed the emotional separation months before you discovered the physical one you're reacting to. Day 1 of betrayal. She's reacting to month 6 of emotional detachment. It's unfair. It's brutal. But it's the truth. Most men never see until it's too late. What stays with a man long after the betrayal isn't the image of what she did. It's the haunting realization that he never truly knew when she left him. You replay conversations where she smiled like nothing was wrong. You remember nights where she curled up next to you, even though her heart was already somewhere else. You recall moments where she claimed she loved you, unaware she was preparing an exit built on silence. And the truth that sinks deepest is this: you were busy being loyal to the relationship, while she was busy deciding if she still wanted one. Men struggle with this level of emotional deception because men are straightforward by nature. If a man falls out of love, he withdraws physically, mentally, and verbally. You can see it, you can feel it. But women operate differently. They can maintain the appearance of connection while their heart conducts an entirely separate conversation internally. A man reads behavior, a woman lives in feelings. That emotional difference is what blindsides men every time. And here's the part that cuts the deepest. Once a woman cheats, she often feels relief before she feels guilt. Not relief because she hurt you, but relief because the emotional weight of her inner conflict finally collapsed. She was carrying months of silent turmoil, guilt, comparison, and confusion. And betrayal, as twisted as it sounds, felt like a release to her. It gave her clarity. It ended the emotional tug-of-war she never told you she was fighting. That's why her apology, if she even gives one, feels mechanical. She isn't grieving the relationship the same way you are. She already grieved it long before the betrayal happened. You're in shock. She's in acceptance. You're just beginning to feel the fall. She already hit the ground and learned how to walk again. But here's the truth you must understand. A truth that saves men from repeating this cycle. A woman doesn't cheat because another man was better. She cheats because she became someone else emotionally, and you didn't notice the transformation. She outgrew the version of herself in your relationship without telling you she was changing. And because you couldn't see her evolving, she convinced herself you weren't the man who could evolve with her. But here's where the story shifts, where men find the strength they didn't know they had. Betrayal, as devastating as it is, forces a man to confront a harsh but necessary truth. You cannot love someone into loyalty, and you cannot sacrifice your identity to keep a woman who has already emotionally left. Once a woman stops admiring you, nothing you do, no amount of affection, gifts, reassurance, or effort can restore that admiration. Loyalty requires respect, and once respect dies, the relationship becomes a ghost, even while both people are still standing in it. But betrayal also creates a turning point, a moment where a man either collapses under the weight of heartbreak or rebuilds himself into someone he never knew he could become. You start realizing that love without boundaries isn't devotion, it's self-abandonment. You start seeing that ignoring red flags wasn't kindness, it was fear. You start understanding that staying available to someone who took you for granted wasn't strength, it was insecurity dressed as loyalty. And when that truth settles in, something powerful happens inside a man. He stops blaming himself for her choices. He stops romanticizing the past. He stops wondering why he wasn't enough, because he begins to understand that cheating isn't an evaluation of his worth. It's a reflection of her emotional instability, her need for validation, her lack of honesty, or her inability to confront her own unhappiness like an adult. The final dark truth men learn too late, but never forget, is this: a woman's betrayal isn't the end of your life. It's the rebirth of your identity. It forces you to reclaim the parts of yourself you neglected. It forces you to rebuild confidence from the ashes. It forces you to create standards instead of excuses. It forces you to evolve into a version of yourself who will never be blind again. And once you become that man, once you stand firmly in who you are with dignity, direction, and emotional independence, no woman will ever cheat on you again, not because you're controlling her, but because a woman cannot betray a man who never betrays himself.